What are the capabilities of the Abrams tank? M1 Abrams tanks have led American battle assaults for decades. Carrying a crew of 4, the Abrams was first deployed to war in 1991. It has thick armor, a 120 mm main gun, armor-piercing capabilities, advanced targeting systems, thick track wheels, and a 1,500 horsepower turbine engine with a top speed of about 42 miles per hour, 68 kilometers per hour.
Oh, 2 bars? Yeah.
Crews interviewed in a 1992 Government Accountability Office review after the Persian Gulf War praised its high survivability and said several M101 crews reported receiving direct frontal hits from Iraqi T-72s with minimal damage. The Battle Titans led the charge to Baghdad during America's 2003 invasion of Iraq, as 3 RD infantry division units conducted what was dubbed Thunder runs to break through Iraqi defenses. The Abrams' powerful jet engine can propel the tank through almost rain, whether heavy snow or heavy mud, said Kevin Butler, a former Army lieutenant who served as an Abrams tank platoon leader. Butler recalled a muddy exercise in the late 1990s at Fort Stewart, Georgia, where he'd voiced concern about the tanks getting stuck because it had already stuck the Humvees. The Abrams, he said, didn't even notice the mud. What can destroy an Abrams tank? How to kill an Abrams? Russian experts issue a guidebook on where and how to destroy the U.S. main battle tank. The image seen above is quite old and famous within the Russian blogosphere, accompanied by a detailed write-up of how to destroy or damage an Abrams tank. Guidelines to destroy M1 Abrams tanks. In the diagram, there are many instructions, with the first one recommending hitting at guidance systems or the tank's main gun with small arms or slash and machine guns. The second instruction is to hit the large gap between the hull and turret, while the third instructs to hit the bay on the sides of the hull, which can be pierced even using the older grenades for the RPG-7 grenade launcher like the PG-7, PG-7V, PG-7VM grenades. The above instructions are based on the assertion that the M1 Abrams, both M101 and M102 models, are highly protected in the frontal section but not as well armored in the side and rear sections. How many Abrams tanks does U.S. have? Production ended in 1992 and approximately 800 M101 Abrams tanks were built. Currently, U.S. Army operates nearly 400 of these tanks, and U.S. Marine Corps just over 400. It is planned that the fleet of refurbished and upgraded M101 tanks will remain with the U.S. military until at least 2021. What is the next tank for the U.S.? The Abrams X comes loaded with features typical of modern military weapons. Powered by a hybrid electric diesel engine, it's lighter and far more fuel efficient than current gas-guzzling Abrams tanks. It can also operate with a smaller crew and has artificial intelligence systems to spot enemies, its creator said. How many M1 tanks can a C5 carry? The newest C5M Super Galaxy has the capability to lift 2 M1 Abrams tanks and can transport nearly a company of troops and gear anywhere in the world with aerial refueling. The C5 is distinct for having both front and rear cargo ramps, allowing for much faster load and offload operations. Which tank is better, Leopard or Abrams? The Leopard and American Abrams are actually twins, Sidney Friedberg, contributing editor of the digital magazine Breaking Defense, told Al Jazeera. The Leopard 2 was first produced in 1979 by Krauss-Maffei for the German Ministry of Defense. They are in service with the armies of Austria, Canada, Chile, Denmark, Finland, Germany, Greece, the Netherlands, Norway, Poland, Portugal, Singapore, Switzerland, Sweden, Spain and Turkey. The first M1 tank was manufactured by General Dynamics Land Systems GDLS in 1978 and was delivered to the US Army in 1980. They are very similar. Big vehicles, heavily armored. Much better protected than anything the Soviets built, or anything the Russians currently have, said Friedberg. The main difference between the Abrams and Leopards is the engine. The Leopard 2 has a diesel-powered MTU MB873 engine, which is much easier to maintain and more widely used across Europe, while the Abrams uses a more powerful and more complex turbine engine. According to Friedberg, because the Abrams tanks are used significantly less across Europe, Ukraine may struggle to cope with logistic infrastructure such as obtaining spare parts, warehousing, and general maintenance. The 4-person tank will also require additional training on the complex machinery. Russia's ambassador to the US said the possible delivery of Abrams tanks to Kyiv by Washington would be another blatant provocation against Moscow, and that the West would regret its delusion that Ukraine can win on the battlefield.